Alright, CNT120, Chap4Lab. We're down to the last section here on remote access. So I have a little scenario here where we have an IT technician that is putting a new piece of equipment in and things aren't quite working. So they call for your help at another site and you remote in to try to help them with their issue, which is pretty common to have happen. So what we'll do is we're going to assume the role of this new technician for a little bit and get a new server installed at the Philadelphia site. And that's where this equipment here and this laptop here is going to come into play. So we're going to switch over to the physical tab. We're going to go to the Philadelphia city over here. And then we'll go to the Philadelphia office building. We're going to have to scroll down until we find it. And then we're going to go into the wiring closet here. And what we'll see is there is a server sitting here on the table and a technician laptop here on the table. So we are going to cable this server into the network. It's a new test server that they're using and trying to get online for. They're going to test with it and then make it go live, etc. So now that we're in that closet, we want to drag the server into the rack and we're going to cable it into port 21 on the switch. So let's drag this server into the rack here, and we can power it on if you will. It should be powered on anyway. But we are going to connect a straight through cable from the server and we're going to go up here to the switch to port 21. Let me zoom in a little bit. That's the instructions they got. We want to cable it into port 21 right there. And what it amounts to is they're like, hey, this side over here is for servers and other equipment. This side over here is for PCs and user equipment, if you will. That's kind of how they have this site laid out. So that server's connected into the network, and the next thing they need to do or want to do is they're going to connect their laptop and say, hey, can we get connectivity to this server, if you will. So they're going to cable this laptop into port 11 and then try to ping and browse into the server. So here's the laptop. We're going to cable into the network port that's here. And again, we're pretending like we're the technician at this site. And then we're going to plug into port 11 over here. This is like the last port on the computer side, if you will. Server stuff over here, computer stuff over here. So they're now cabled in. Well, this laptop, the technician's laptop, we want to make sure they have a IP address that would be valid for this side of the network. So let's click on this guy. We're going to open up the desktop. We'll open the IP config, and we're going to make sure we're getting a valid address. So we'll cycle it from static over to dynamic and hopefully be picking up an IP. We might need to wait a minute for the switch port to settle. So if it fails, that's all right. Wait a couple seconds and then we'll toggle from static back over here to dynamic again, and we should be picking up a 192.168.30 address. There we go. So now it has a valid IP address to be on this network. And what they're going to do, once they install the server, like, okay, let's see if we can browse to this thing. So let's try to browse into the server. And the address in this guy is testserver.org. So we'll open the browser. And we will try to browse into it. That's the website they set up on it. So we're going to try to browse into that website. So let's do www.testserver.org. And we'll try to load that page. We'll try it a couple times and we'll give it a second to run. And we'll see if the web page loads. Once you put a server in a network, that's one of the first things you check. Can you get to the page or the test page on there or whatever it happens to be? And it looks like we're getting a timeout. Don't panic. Let's see if we can try to ping it. So we'll close that out. Let's go to command prompt. Let's try to ping the server. And it is www.testserver.org. And the DNS server has resolved it to 30.6, so 30.6. Okay, so DNS server recognizes that name, but it looks like the server is not responding to that, name, if you will. Well, so we'll try a direct ping to 30.6 and see if we get anything different this time. So let's do a ping. You can do it there. Let's do a ping, 192.168.30.6, and see if we get anything different. And it's not looking like we're getting anything different out of that. So this technician is encountering, hey, things aren't working. And I tell you here, these will fail. Don't panic. Okay, don't panic. So the technician's now like, okay, I plugged it in, I have it turned on, I have it plugged in. I can even go over here and look to see there should be blinky link lights on it. Yeah, there's a power light on, so we know it's powered on. It is cabled in as they were told, but they're not getting connection. So that's the scenario of like the IT tech has installed this thing, and again, they're one of the new guys. They're doing what they're told, and they're like, "Hey, I'm stuck. What do I do?" So that's when they call you. You're a technician at the Harrisburg site, and they're like, "Hey, can you help me figure this out?" So let's go over to the Harrisburg site, and we're going to pretend again we're the technician at the Harrisburg site now. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to go back, so I can see both cities. Let's go to Harrisburg now. Go to the building, and we'll go to this closet, and you'll notice that there is a laptop waiting here for you, your technician laptop. Let's cable this in the network, and we'll try, ping and browse and kind of thing from here, if you will. So actually, they've said, hey, these things aren't working. So we're going to get this guy cabled in, and then we'll try to connect over to their site and see what we can see. So we want to cable this guy in, and this is going to go to port 11 up here as well, kind of the computer side of things. So we're going to plug into our network port, our NIC, if you will. We'll go to port 11 here. We'll open the laptop. We need to give it a minute for that switch port to settle, but we're going to end up going to the desktop and IP config. Again, we need to give it a minute for that switch port to settle. I'm scrolling it back here. I need to make sure that this has a minute to settle. That's what we're waiting for. And then we're going to check to see if we have an IP or can get a valid IP to be on this network. All right, there we go. We got a link light. So now we'll go to IP config, and let's try a DHCP and see if we get an IP address. Again, if it doesn't right away, click it back to static, wait 5-10 seconds, then click to dynamic, and you should be picking up 192.168.10 IP address. Good. So again, the technician called you, and you're like, okay, hold on, let me get my laptop out. So what you're going to try to do is, now that we're, I have my laptop out in the closet, I'm cabled into the network, we're like, okay, let me try to console into the switch over there, remote into the switch over there, and see if there's something on that switch preventing that server from communicating. Because really, at the Philadelphia site, the laptop, the technician's laptop, and server are both plugged into the same switch. So there shouldn't be anything preventing them from communicating. So what we're going to do is we're going to remote into the switch at the Philadelphia side and see if there's anything preventing. Again, we're sitting, I'll go back out here a level. We're sitting here in Harrisburg. We're going to remote into the switch at the Philadelphia side and see if we can help them out. So on my laptop, I'm going to open a utility down here, the SSH utility. And we are going to plug in the IP address of that switch at the Philadelphia side. It's 192.168.30.5. So we're going to make sure we have SSH selected, one of our remote access protocols. We'll plug in 192.168.30.5, and then we're going to plug in the username for that switch. Now, we don't have secure usernames and passwords here for just learning purposes. So we're going to plug in admin, and then we're going to connect. Now, hopefully, we will get prompted for a password, and when we do, we're going to put the password in for that switch. And again, password is the password. I know it's not secure, and we're going to hit enter. Now, you'll notice my cursor didn't move. So the cursor is not going to move. Just type the password carefully and hit enter, and we should get a message that says, welcome to the Philadelphia switch. This is a banner message. So now we know we are literally connected to Philadelphia switch, even though we're sitting in Harrisburg. So what we'll do now is we're gonna get into the admin mode. So we're gonna use the enable command. Enable. It's gonna ask for a password again. This time the password is class. Again, just type with confidence and hit enter. The cursor is not gonna move, so I'm typing class and hitting enter. I'm now at the admin level on this switch. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna look at the running config on this switch by using the command show run. And this will show the first page. If I start hitting the spacebar, it's going to show additional pages. Well, the first handful of ports on the PC side are all good. As I get to the server side, I'm seeing a bunch of ports shut down, including port 21, the one that the server was plugged into, the one the technician plugged the server into. The other server devices are all okay, but this one is not. So it looks like we need to turn that port on for them. So we will do that. We're going to go to that port and turn it on, and hopefully that'll remedy the situation they're having. So we're going to use a couple commands here. We're going to use the config T command, config T. That gets us to config mode. Once we're in config mode, we're going to select that interface. So we're going to do int for interface, and we're going to type FA0/21. Interface fast Ethernet 021. That's how they number that. Now that we're there, we're going to issue the command called no shutdown. In router and switch world, shutdown will turn it off. Opposite is always no. So if we do no shutdown, that means, hey, turn this port on. So we'll run that. And again, this is on the Philadelphia switch. It's on the other site. Hopefully that port has turned on for them. We'll do exit. And we'll do exit one more time. And I'm going to do a show run to see if that port is showing that it's turned on. So I'm using the space bar a couple times here. And next to 21, I don't see that shutdown error message anymore. So hopefully their port is turned on. And this is where, again, if maybe we were on a cell phone call or call with each other, I'd say to the technician over there, okay, hold on, I have turned it on. Give me a second. Give it a second to respond. And then let me know what you see or what you find out. So I'm going to close this. I'm going to close out our SSH session. We are no longer connected to the switch at the other site. And now we're going to, let's now kind of go back into that IT technician's shoes. So we're going to back our way out of the Harrisburg site. We'll go over here to Philadelphia now, and we're going to assume the role of this new technician, if you will. And they're like, okay, hold on, let me try these tests now. So on their laptop now, they're going to try some of these same tests they did before. They're like, okay, let me try to ping the IP. Hey, we're getting a response now. So the IP is responding. Let's try pinging the name. Hey, the name is responding. So maybe, just maybe, we're able to browse into this server. So I will close this out. I'll open the web browser, and I will try to browse into the server. You can do it, little browser. You can do it. www.testserver.org. And bada bing, bada boom, the web page displays. So now they have connectivity. And it really amounted to that those switch ports were shut off, or some error happened that those ports shut off. So calling the Harrisburg IT tech, they were able to SSH remote in to that Philadelphia switch and fix their issue for them. Very common to have in networks and network management. So thinking back to the remote access part of the lab, that's the kind of thing that would be happening. All right, so now that we know this is working, let's highlight all of this guy, and we're going to copy this. I'll do a Control-C. I'll do a Control-C. That should work for me. And now in my text file, we'll come here and we'll do part. This is what, part 9? Yeah, part 9. This is our remote access. And we'll put SSH. And I will paste that in there. There's the result of us loading the web page. And make sure you get it all. Just make sure you get it all. And now we will save that. So I can close out my browser there. And if I actually go back out to the logical tab now, you'll see there's that the Harrisburg Tech laptop connected in. Here's the Philadelphia Tech laptop connected in, and this new test server connected in. All right, so there is some remote access. Last but not least, make sure you have all these pieces in your text file. That's why we labeled them all. And then make sure this text file gets submitted to D2L. Again, just go down through each of these areas, make sure all those pieces are there. That's why we labeled them. As we go through here, here's my Ethernet header fields. Here's my ARP. My target MAC, here's my ARP table, here's my UDP port numbers, my TCP three-way handshakes, IP ping, IP version 6 ping, my netstat, my trace route for both IP4, IP6, and then my remote access.